Welcome Greg Martinelli here today. Greg owns and manages egg sales professionals and a training and coaching service for sales professional and sales managers. EDA has partnered with Greg on several education webinars for equipment dealers over the last few years, and we're thrilled that he's here with us today. Greg's personal mission is to make you the best salesperson and sales manager you can possibly be. His approach combines interviews, assessments, and 27 years of experience in front of customers and sales teams. Thank you for joining us, Greg.
Thank you, Dale. Would it surprise you? Would it surprise you if I was to say that 50% of the B2B, business-to-business, selling transactions or sales interactions, presentations, whatever you want to call them, 50% end without anybody asking a clue, without the salesperson asking for the business. And if we get into the retail, B2C, business to consumer, that number jumps somewhere north of 75 to 80%. Now, that's a little skewed because that includes places like Walmart and Kohl's, where teenagers can care less whether you buy from them or not as employees. But we're kind of somewhere in between that. Maybe B2B, in between B2C. But would it shock you that that goes on? And so I mentioned in here in my last session about working with a group of equipment dealers who I was asking questions at the beginning of the training, and I would ask them little questions like, how many of you have done demos, and how many of you asked closing style questions, how many of you have actually followed up with somebody after you gave them a quote. And so they all said that they were closing, they were asking closing questions. And so then what they didn't really realize, they realized that I had the results, but they didn't realize I had actually tabulated the results. I had individually, over the course of about 2 years, they had been secret shopped. So real customers coming in, asking about the products, and then going out and filling out an information survey about whether they actually closed, offered a demo, and followed up with them about 2 or 3 days later. And the number was eerily close to 50% of the people that asked a closing style, salespeople for this equipment dealer actually asked a closing style question. So my title of this presentation is all you have to do is ask and follow up. There's literally people that won't buy if you don't ask for the business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So here's the topics. Why we fail to ask, why the ask fails, what is a compelling CTA? Anybody know what a CTA is? Call to action, very good. Yes, absolutely. You get a free coupon for this session. And follow up. Two of the biggest areas, asking for the business and following up. Again, like the last presentation, this is probably not going to be telling you something you don't already know, but it's going to be a great reminder. And there's going to be some really good tips in here that I think you're going to find. The one on a trial close is worth the price of admission, trust me. I didn't learn it until late in my selling career, and it's been a game changer for how I sell, for the way I approach the sale. So why do we fail to close? Well, I like to call it the pile-on theory. I gotta just keep going and keep selling and I'm gonna pile on so many benefits that you're just gonna break, and you're gonna be like, okay, I give, I'll buy. Go ahead, Greg, sign me up. And then the fear is that, here's the fear, is what if I close and they haven't heard all the benefits? Or what if I close and get a no and then have nowhere to go? How many people have been through a formal sales training program? Yep. Steps. Typically, what are the steps? They're all the same. All of us have the same sales training. I've got one that's great. It's 5 steps. They're all the same. They are meet and greet, shake hands, get to know them, ask them questions and find out their need, present your products that fit the need, close and close and close and close until they buy, or they run out of your parking lot, whatever happens first. And so our fear is that I don't go to step 5 until I've done all the benefits in 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3, and 4. Because I don't want to close and then not have the ability to go back. But wait, there's more. And it's like the old Ronco commercial. But wait, there's more. Don't go away. We've got more for you. So you keep throwing the benefits on them. We're going to learn how to compete with that, combat that a little bit. What the problem is we haven't figured out their why. And so oftentimes I'm brought in, they'll say, Greg, we got an hour. I want you to teach them how to close the sale and overcome resistance. First of all, that's not just something that happens in an hour. It's kind of a little bit of almost a lifetime of how you learn the business and how you learn it. But one of the biggest mistakes that salespeople make is they don't spend enough time in the pre-steps of learning and asking questions. And customers are very, very good at this, especially farmers. You think about it, I always tell people, it's like you're sitting at your cubicle and all day long, somebody's walking by your cubicle saying, hey, I noticed you're using paper. I've got great paper. This paper's going to save you 15% a year. And then 2 minutes later, here comes a pen salesman. And a minute later, here comes a paper clip. And that's what it's like being a farmer. So you got to learn how to stand out. And you got to learn to understand them better. Ask questions about their business. What are they doing right now? He's got pen and paper. He probably doesn't need pen and paper, but he needs maybe it done a different way. He's got a problem with it. So that's what salespeople really struggle with. And that's why when they close and they have nowhere else to go, is because they haven't had enough questions, enough information from the customer to close the business. We're going to talk about a couple of really quick and great ways to do that. You got to know what they value. Are they going from a shovel to that? Or are they going from this to this? And I don't know why this is in Minnesota, I'm sure somewhere, but hey, more power to them, the more customers. You know, they've got some real problems. What are they trying to do? Before you try to close, the guy on the left comes in and says, I need a snowblower. He's upgrading to the one on the picture on the right. You want to close on them with a snowblower, but really what he needs is probably a truck with snow. I actually had people say this. I didn't really want to kill the one, so I do ride-along coaching too. I go out and ride with them and then coach on their selling style. And this is interesting. I have, and in the workshops, I'll have a session specifically on closing. And so we'll do a role play. We give them the roles that you're the salesperson, you're the observer, you're the customer. And then we put them together and let them do their thing. And in the observer's instructions, I literally have, I want you to write down the words, the exact word for word, what the salesperson says to close the sale. This is closing training. And in about 25% of the times, the salesperson in the training, designed specifically to close, doesn't ask a closing question. So I usually talk to their manager and say, look, you need to do these role plays a lot. It's not that they don't want to ask a closing question. It's simply, they just don't feel right doing it. They're not doing it. They're not in the habit. They're not used to doing it. And then we talk about, well, I didn't want to, ruin the momentum. We had such a good thing going. I said, well, guess what? If you don't close the sale, it's not selling. It's just kind of socializing. It's a fun time together, talking about equipment. You got to get something done. And believe it or not, your customer knows why you're there. They're there to buy something, and if you're out there, they know what you are. You had a logo on that said you're from the local store or we're from the local implement dealer. They know you're there to sell them something. You're not there for Christmas dinner. They know you're there. So don't feel like you're throwing a negativity. How about this one? This one's often times when somebody's a little bit timid on closing, and they'll be like, well, I gave them all the information. They'll tell me when they're ready to buy. They'll call me. Anybody sitting around waiting for a call from a customer? Find something else to do, they're not going to call. You're going to have to ask for the business. The truth is, I walk into Home Depot, I'm a Home Depot home repair guy. Means if somebody at Home Depot can explain it to me, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'm going to call somebody else to do it. And so I walk in there every weekend probably with electrical or pipes, and what do they always ask me? Can I help you? Do you need some help? And what do I always say? No. Why? What am I, shopping? You got electric. I look like a bum. I'm dirty. I've been crawling around in a toilet somewhere probably, and I got parts and something's broke and I look mad. And they ask me, do you need some help? And I don't know why I say it, but I just say no. And they let me go. I go back to the plumbing and then do good luck trying to find someone, but it's a different subject. They don't shop that often. Never hear that? I'm just shopping, I'm just looking. They got busy lives. Odds are that's a defense mechanism. So close. Why do we fail to close? We keep piling on the benefits. In summary, we haven't figured out what they want. We don't want to interrupt the momentum, maybe. It's going, I'm still piling the benefits on. They will let me know when they're ready to buy. So why does our close fail? Besides the fact that you put a trash can on a trailer, I don't know, I saw this picture and I was like, I gotta put this in there. It's an awesome picture. This looks like something, I was the youngest of 6 kids. Looks like something my 3 brothers would have done to me. Yeah, just sit here, Greg. It's okay. Well, customers aren't in your selling. How many people, when you went out to buy something, said, I cannot wait to get in that guy's prospect funnel and be part of his selling process. I can't wait till he grinds me through there like a meat grinder and spits me out the other end as a customer. Nobody says that, right? Even though I teach that process, it is important to understand it, and that's what we do. But nobody wants to be in there. Nobody likes to be sold, but we all love to buy. So give them a chance to buy in their process. And the way that you want to do that is think about their buying process. What do they go through? First, they go through awareness. I'm aware that I have a need. I just bought 10 acres and I got to mow something. I just need to dig up a big piece of dirt somewhere and I need a excavator. Whatever happens. And then they engage. Where do they first start to engage? Google, the engagement tool of all it begins with. The next steps that they do, they start to engage. They learn about it online. And then they come in to prove it out, like we learned in the demo. I learn about it online, and I come here to your store to prove that the brand promise is real, that I wasn't being sold a bill of goods. And then they... All right, I want to talk about emotion, because I mentioned this in the last session, that people buy on emotion. And if I asked everybody in here, I'd probably get a mix of hands about selling on emotion. And I mentioned this before, I said, you know, if you go through this experience, and I do a lot of sales training, and I talk about emotion. If you can get to that level of selling on emotion, you have something that differentiates you from your competition. If you understand, it takes a lot of good questions to understand what emotion. And I had a sales training, and I had Al over here that had been selling for 40 years, and I had Kevin over here that had been selling for about 2 or 3 years, brand new. And they're both just giving it to me in my training session that I don't know what I'm talking about, and they don't want their customers buying on emotion because they don't want to be an impulse buyer. You know, the guy that buys whenever there's a good deal that comes along. And so I had to walk them through that. I said, is that the only emotion in the world? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I mean, is that the only emotion? Or are there these other ones? Now, this was a farming operation, farming business. I said, isn't there a little fear and risk in farming? Oh my gosh, yes. They put $600 an acre in the ground and they don't know whether it's going to come up in the fall and make any money on it. There's absolutely risk. Think about what that emotion is like. If you can sell, I'm not saying sell falsely off that emotion. Don't guarantee something that you can't deliver. But if you can work that emotion. So I had these two argue with me about it, and I said, finally, I said, Al, you've been selling for 40 years, and Kevin, you've been selling for 2 years. Al, why don't I just buy from Kevin because he's a buck a bag cheaper? Well, you know, I've been around here 40. I had 40 springs, plantings, and I had 40 harvests. And when there's a good time, when there's really bad soil and bad weather, all this that goes on, I'm the guy that they come to because I know what I'm doing. And I said, well, wouldn't that be a lot around trust? I buy from Al because I trust when tough times come, he's going to be there. How many of your dealerships sell on the fact that when parts are hard or when service is down? I know one dealer sells on zero downtime. That's a trust. I mean, think about that. If I'm a person with a lot of equipment and my business is riding on the fact that I can have mowers, snow blowers, lawn blowers, chainsaws running, you can't saw trees down without chainsaws. So if it's not running, it's not going. So the trust is what that dealership can sell on. It's huge. I can't compare that. I can't equate Al from Kevin. Is it worth $1 a bag, $2 a bag? In some years, that might be worth $3 a bag. But that's an emotion that I go with Al, and I just disregard Kevin. I won't even consider his sale. Sorry to point you as Kevin. So the buyer's letter, if any of you have ever seen this, back in the old days, we used to call it sell the sizzle, not the steak. That means sell the benefits, not the features. We used to benefit or feature dump on everybody that we'd sell to. It's got this balanced amino acids and it's fastest, it's the most powerful, it'll last longer, it'll do all these features. And we would never talk about the benefits. So they did sales training and said, sell the sizzle, not the steak. Well, we took that one step further, and we talk about selling the emotion. Finding out what emotion it is when they have that. Anybody ever run into a problem with a customer, right? I can't get my mower to do this, or I can't get it, not actually the mower being broke, but they're trying to do something in their business. Qualify that. Find out the impact. What is the impact when that happens to your business? Because it's not usually the dollars of not being able to cut that tree. It's the lost trust that they had with the customer that they said they'd be out there on Friday and Saturday and take care of it. You know, we'd have all these product issues. You know, we'd have a bad delivery or we didn't get delivered on time. It typically wasn't the problem with that delivery. What they were really upset with us about was the fact that we betrayed what we told them we were going to do. We said we were going to be there, they got prepared for it. Now they got to come back another day. Or they got to return the product. You know, everybody's product has problems and they break and you got to replace them. But think about the guy who has to drive 25 miles to replace it. It's not just the replacement cost, it's all that emotion that goes along with it. So, a couple of reasons. Summary, why do our closes fail? Customers are not in our selling, you're in their buying process. All right, I want to talk about a little bit about compelling call to action. Very important piece of any sale is understanding the buyer's reason for why they're going to buy. I do training. I make people answer 4 questions when they get in my training. Why you? Why your company? Why now? And why should I change? If you can answer those 4 questions, this is tough. Even people who sell a product that people need or animals need, like feed 3 times a day, it becomes difficult for them, especially if they work for a big company. Like, you know, one of the conglomerates, Ford, Chevy, they don't understand. Why you as a person? So why Al? Why Kevin? And why your company? And then why now? And why should I change? And the why now and why should I change is the compelling call to action. We don't think about that sometimes and try to uncover that in the questioning process of the sale. Because it makes the close so much easier. Well, you told me you had, so let me talk a little bit about a couple of them. There are reason to act and reason to act now. I talked about them in 3 different forms. There's a natural, there's a customer driven, and then there's your driven, the one from your company, the product you're selling. So let me explain a little bit. There's a natural call to action. I mean, when I lived in Wisconsin and I didn't realize, I thought roof rakes were for raking leaves. Anybody live up north? There was a year when everybody had to have roof rakes because the roofs were collapsing because there was so much snow that year. It kept getting wet snow and melting and turning into ice dams. There was a whole host of problems. We sold the heck out of ice melt, the salt that melts ice. A natural call to action. Then there's a customer-driven. I just bought the property. Tax refund. A little bit of a customer-driven thing. Hey, I'm getting into a bunch of money and I want to spend it. And I want to spend it before I spend it on something else. And then there's, of course, your company. Now, most salespeople spend how much of their time on which one? Which one do you think we spend more of our time on? Company-driven. We talk mostly about this. The problem with talking mostly about this is it's your schedule, not your customer's schedule. They really don't care. Now, I will tell you this. We go back to Kohl's. Anybody know why my wife usually takes me back to Kohl's? Because I paid full price for something that was on sale 3 weeks ago. I mean, she's like, there's no way. We're going back. I said, why are we going back? I bought it today or yesterday. Well, it was on sale 3 weeks ago. Or it comes on sale in a couple of weeks and we're going to go back. You know, I mean, it's just like, hon, we bought it. I bought it. Why am I going back? We are trained by these industries that our company-driven promotions and calls to actions really don't have a timeline. You pretty much get that sale at a time. Now, obviously there's times when this can't happen, zero financing, and that's coming from one of your vendors or something like that. But we are kind of conditioned to the fact that we can get the company. So when you're talking about calls to action, these are in order of what I call order of importance. The natural is the most important. If you can talk about a natural, it's going to snow. Your grass is going to grow. The warm temperature is going to make your grass grow. That is a call to action. You just bought this property and it's April 15th, the grass is going to grow, you're going to have to get a mower. So you know that call to action. And finding that out ahead of time early in the discussion with them, what they're currently using, how they plan to accomplish that. It is also an excellent reason for following up. One of the lowest rates, when I told you I asked what was the rate of people asking closing questions, was right around 50%. Anybody want to take a wild guess at what the answer was? The percentage of people that actually called the customer about 3 days later after they gave them a price quote. 25%. That actually called and said, hey, you were in, you burned up an hour and a half of my time. I took you from A to Z in the lawnmowers. I taught you how to all this stuff. Are you ready to buy? Sometimes they've even given them a demo in the lot. 25%. Now, if you've got a call to action, something that they told you, hey, I got to make this decision, you know, obviously the grass is growing and I don't have anything to mow it with, and you know that in the last, 5 days it's probably grown a little more. It's a great reason to follow. So, close. Here's a couple clues. Now, there's a whole hours and hours of training on closing, but I want a couple of key points. Here's the deal. Just do it. It's almost like I equate it to like asking for the middle school dance. And I'll go out with people and I'll say, what are you going to work on? Greg, I'm going to work on my clothes. And I'm like, okay, so then I watch them. And they're literally looking at their binder of their presentation material, and I can see they're ready to close, and they're like, yeah, and I can see they're just locked up, and I'm like, they're ready to close, they're just doing it. In my head, I'm screaming, do it, just ask. Go ahead and just do it. It's never as bad. But look how much fun you have when you do it. Look at that guy, you just can't believe it. It only takes a few seconds of bravery. And then you ask him. One of the toughest things I can get people to do is to turn down the driveway and make it roll. It only takes a few seconds of bravery to turn down the driveway. Once you turn down the driveway, you got to make it. And it's never as bad as what you thought it was going to be. This next part's worth the price condition. It's free. Dip your toe in with a trial. Anybody ever use a trial close? Yep. Very good. And what kind of trial close, in your opinion, is?
You always have some.
Just try them out. There, you're trying them out. We'll go. Let me see if this is the same definition.
Kind of work it back into what
Yep.
you're discussing and get
Right.
kind of you're playing with the egg or the seed, and you got to go back to it.
Sure. So let me give you my version of it. It's a non-committal what-if style question. This is great in any selling situation, including at home, when you're trying to sell your spouse on doing a project, when you're trying to do anything with anybody. This is a great. You can use this on your kids. I love using this on my teenage kids when I learned about this. This was great. It's a what-if, non-committal style question. How would it work if you did this? What would happen if we did this? What do you think what do you think would happen if we tried this out? What do you think would happen if you tried this on your property?
Get more information.
You get more information.
You get a feel for where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. These are trial closes that you can use in them. What would be the downside of doing this? If you use this piece of equipment on it, what do you think would be the downside? Does it make sense? I love this one. Whenever we are predispositioned to answer, yes, it makes sense. Because we're usually think that it makes sense. You got to say something that makes sense. You can't say, does it make sense that we have you spend $500,000? No, it doesn't make sense for that. It's got to be something realistic. But you've listened to them, you've asked them questions, and now you're bringing them to what you think makes sense. And you're saying, do you think it makes sense that we do this? If you ask the business, no, we can't do that until my brother gets here, he makes all the decisions. Well, the next question is, do you think it makes sense that we meet with your brother? First of all, I'd say, why are we meeting? But the next question is, do you think it makes sense? Do you think it makes sense to use something like this? Have you ever? I love this question because this separates what they know from what they don't know. I went down through this program one time. Give me a second. I'm selling away and I'm selling away on this program. Now, I was in a very mature business. Feeding animals is a very mature industry. And things kind of come around full circle. And so about 1995, I'm selling this program. And the guy stops me after about 15 minutes. He says, oh, that's just like the ABC promo. And I don't know what the name was. He's like, that's just like the ABC promo. I said, what was the ABC promo? And he describes the exact promo I'm running. We had just gone full circle. We had either reinvented the wheel or somebody recommended doing the same promo, type of promo we had done 20 years ago. I didn't really have to explain it. All I would have had to do is ask, have you ever done something like this? Now that whole thing was killed right there on the floor because he said, that's just like the ABC promo and I would never do that because I had the worst experience and blah, 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 and it goes on and on and on. I had wasted 15 minutes of my sales call on something I could have learned in the first 2 seconds of the conversation. If yes, how did it work for you? And if no, do you think it would work? Here's a couple things about a trial close. Remember when I told you and I walked you through the steps? You meet them, you greet them, you talk about, you ask questions, you position, and then you close and you have to wait all the way till the end. The cool part about a trial close is you can do it anytime. Matter of fact, open with a trial close. You can use it anywhere in the sales process. You're not asking them to buy. You're not asking them to do it. It's non-committal. All you're simply doing is asking, what do you think it is? Would this work? Now, here's the other important part, is the answer that they give you in a trial close, if it's a resistance point, negative, like, we did that and it didn't work, or I would never do that in my store, you get a dig. Your next part of your presentation has to be understanding why that is the way it is. Because if you ask a trial close and they say, well, you got to have my brother here because he's the one who makes that decision, guess what? You can close all day long on this person and you're going to sound like a fool because he just told you his brother makes that decision. So close, close, close. You know, the ABC, always be closing. Don't do that. If they give you a resistance point, you need to overcome that resistance point in the trial close. But you did it early in the selling process as opposed to way down here. Now you got this whole time to ask questions about that problem and not about hundreds of problems that you could run into.